again. So thank you everybody for coming. Welcome. Tonight's like tonight are a great opportunity to reconnect with your son or daughter's education. Senior years are an important part of their life. Hopefully it's setting them up for their future. And hopefully some of the conversations or some of the information that you might hear tonight will prompt some of those conversations that you'll be able to have with your son or daughter around their career choices, around their subject selections and their pathways moving forward. So please enjoy the evening, and I'll hand over to Richard to start with prayer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Broom and I'm the Assistant Principal of Religious Education. The song you just heard was made by a Year 12 student in their final year of schooling. Their challenge was to accept and somehow build the charism of MacKillop Catholic College in New South Wales. It wasn't one of our students. But I played it earlier this year to our Year 12 students as part of the welcome to our college in Year 12, and challenged at least one of those students to put to lyrics the music that shares something of the charism of MacKillop. So we begin this evening by Acknowledgment of Country. We acknowledge the Larrakia people, the traditional owners of the land. We pay respect to the elders, both past and present and future, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and the hopes of Aboriginal Australia, and who educated their children in this area. We show respect for their history, their culture and their shared future. We'll always remember that under the concrete, the steel and asphalt of this college, this land is, was and always will be traditional land. So we begin always at our meetings and our gatherings in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord our God, source of all life, you reveal in yourself the depths of our being, drawing us to share in your life and love. Bless each of us as we respond to your Spirit's invitation to open wide the doors to Christ. Make the doors of our heart, our homes, our schools and communities wide enough to receive all who need human love and fellowship. Narrow enough to shut out all envy, prejudice and pride. Let us hasten to welcome the stranger. We make this prayer in his name, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Okay, I apologise about that. We've got too many PowerPoint slides open. For those of you who are standing there at the back, there are 4 pristine empty seats right at the front. Any volunteers? Okay, Mr. Shanahan, I believe, is bringing out some more seats for you there, so you're not standing for the whole period. My name is Joseph Truskowski. I'm head of senior years, which at MacKillop are years 10, 11 and 12. Now, I don't want to bore you with the typical presentation which I've done in past years, so I'm going to zoom very quickly through the NTCET and SACE, and then we've got other people who are going to be talking to you longer than I am. So, to complete your schooling in the Northern Territory, you have to complete the NTCET, Northern Territory Certificate of Education and Training, and it's very similar to the SACE, which is the South Australian Certificate of Education. There's a couple of minor differences, but they're not really that important at this stage. Now, the compulsories and the subjects you have to do fit into this thing, which is sometimes called the pattern. So, at Year 10 level, 10 credits of the personal learning plan are compulsory, and you must pass that. You must get a C or above. At Year 11, Stage 1, you have to do 2 semesters of literacy, English, you must pass that, and 1 semester of numeracy, that is mathematics. You don't have to do 2 semesters of that. You then have a choice of Stage 1 or 2 subjects, and then in your final year, Year 12, you have to do 3 subjects in total, which is worth 60 credits. That's for an NTCET. If you wish to go to university, you need to get an ATAR, and to do that you need to have 5 subjects at Stage 2 level. Okay, at Stage 1 you get graded A, B, C, D or E, and for the compulsory subjects you can't get a D. If you do, you have to repeat the subject. And in total, in your whole pattern, you have to get an A, B or a C in 140 credits out of a total of 200. Compulsories, PLP, you'll be told a bit more about that in a minute. Numeracy and literacy. That's at Stage 1, Year 11 level. Okay, your 3 choices, all the other subjects. In addition to those standard subjects like history and mathematics and sciences and so on, you can put vocational education and training courses, VET courses, okay, and there'll be more information about that in a couple of minutes. You can also credit some community learning, such as the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and once again there'll be a bit more information about that in a few minutes. So you don't just have to do academic subjects. Okay, ATAR, you have to do 5 Stage 2 subjects. That's at Year 12. If you are doing a VET course, some of those are worth 50 to 100 credits, which is fantastic to get you lots of points, but if you want an ATAR, you can only credit 20 of your VET course points towards that. One of the things which students find doing Year 10, 11 or 12 is a lot of stress involved. If you are under stress, we're going to have some information about that shortly. But if you have an incident like we had with a boy breaking his ankle, he can't obviously take part in PE or those sorts of activities, and therefore he can't do the rest of the activities which other students have to do. So we could potentially give them what is called special provisions and work around the requirements of the subject to actually help them get through. So special provisions are designed for people who have illnesses during the time, or something unforeseen happens, and so on. Myself and Mrs. Wallace are responsible for providing special provisions. Why do we do this? That's because it's our requirement, it's a legal requirement that we are able to offer these special provisions to students who are disadvantaged in some particular way. Once again, a bit more to come from that. Okay. Within the ramifications of VET, school-based apprenticeships, traineeships and so on, students can be out 1 day, 2 days, sometimes 3 days a week. If that is the case, then they're going to be missing out on some of these subjects that they have to do, compulsories, and they're potentially missing out on other subjects that they want to do. So within our Flex Learning Centre, we try and provide a timetable for those students who are out those many days a week. They'll sometimes be working with their normal teacher in flex learning, or sometimes they'll be working with the teachers that we have available for flex learning. Okay, and these are just a couple of other things that the flex learning and RTO people actually do. So we are a RTO, Registered Training Organisation ourselves. We offer a number of courses, and we also offer courses from other providers. And all of those things that are up there are things that we have done in the past or are doing right now. Okay, one of the things you might want to be looking at is further study. I've already said, if you want to go to university, you've got to get an ATAR and you've got to do 5 subjects at stage 2 level. But that's not the only way that you can go to further study, and you need to be talking to people in careers and flex learning about other options. We had a student, year 11 last year, who completed 100 points certificate 3, and she has finished school already. She's got her 200 points and she's off training to be a nurse. So you don't even have to stay year 12, you can get way ahead. Okay, if you want to apply for university, those are the requirements. And in Australia, there are organisations that you must approach to enter university. You can't just turn up to the university's door and say, knock, knock, let me in. You've got to go through what are called TACs. And the ones we tend to work with are SATAC, which is for South Australia, and QTAC for Queensland. And that's SATAC, and those are the websites if you really want to pursue that if you're in year 12. Okay, what I'll do at the moment is I'll stop here, and if there are any questions for me, could you please ask them now, thank you. We'll ask Patricia to come forward and she'll be talking to you about all of the VET options, the RTO options, flexible learning and so on. Now, I did that very, very quickly because I've done this a number of times and I don't really want to bore you. So, okay, you may have seen we do actually have the build going for our RTO training centre out there towards the Oval. So we hope to have that on board sometime fairly shortly. You ready? Almost. Okay, sorry, you had a question?
Yes, how do you know which subjects are stage 1 subjects so that you can ensure that you have stage 2 subjects?
Okay, in the coding it says 1 for stage 1, it says 2 for stage 2. Almost always a stage 1 subject is worth 10 credits. A stage 2 subject will be worth 20 credits and it's in the code for the subject. So 2 STU 20 is stage 2 scientific studies. 1 STU 10 is stage 1 scientific studies. Brilliant. Okay. I've tried to tell this to my students and even today to the staff. We in the Northern Territory don't have a separate examination system. We latch on to South Australia, and their system is called SACE, South Australian Certificate of Education. They've got a huge website. On the website, they've got all the information about the subjects. They have got all the information that you need about other connections. You can actually, as students or as parents, you can find the email address or the phone address of the advisors for the SACE board, and you can ring them, you can send emails to them, and they will respond to you. So the SACE website is the main portal to go for. We do have a link on our school website to that, if you want to do that. So a lot of information there. In previous years I've played SACE promotional videos. I chose not to do that. We've got more important things to do. Please, Trish, you ready?
I am. Thank you very much, Joseph. Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen and students. My name is Patricia Sweeney Fawcett and I'm the Managing Director for the RTO and VET Careers and Flexible Learning Space. So you're very, very welcome tonight. This is the agenda. So I'm going to be talking about VET because a lot of people don't actually know what it is or what it entails. I'm going to be talking about the pathways in which you can move through. flexible learning centre that Joseph briefly discussed, and career advice that we offer within the college here. Okay. So vocational education and training forms an integral part of the Australian education system. It is where students gain practical skills of an industry that they are interested in. So it's building the skills and knowledge of real job within the Australian economy. So it makes sure students are work ready for their career. There's a wide range of qualifications on offer in the vet space. There's a full array. I think the only one that there isn't is a dentist, but again, there's avenues that you can get into that with dental nursing. Every other industry is covered in the vocational education and training sector. Another interesting point about it is that it is industry driven. So all the industries have an input into the curriculum and they drive what we have to teach the students. Okay. So this is just some stats of the vet sector activity, just so that you're aware that there is almost 4,000 RTOs in Australia. So the Killip Catholic College is an RTO, so it's a registered training organisation. 4.2 million vet students. This is stats from 2020. There was 266,500 apprentices or trainees in training. 87.7% apprentices gained employment as a result of doing their qualifications. And last year there was 235,800 vet and skilled students. So, vet delivered to secondary school students. This is designed for students who have got a real interest in a particular industry, who feel that they cannot wait to get into that industry. So it may be a trade industry, it might be hospitality, it might be hairdressing. Whatever your student is interested in, then there is an avenue and there is a pathway for them. And instead of them waiting until they're 18 and leaving school, vet and school programs give them the opportunity from age 14 to start on their career journey. So that's the beauty of vet. Another point here is that they're going to be job ready when they finish. So again, if they are interested in a particular subject, an employer is more likely to employ them for having 2 years experience in their industry as opposed to someone that's just coming out of school starting in the pathway. Students learn industry-specific skills which increases their employability and work towards gaining their national recognised qualification. So you do a vet course here and it's nationally recognised anywhere in Australia. Then another option is the school-based apprenticeships or traineeships. So this is where students can actually earn money when they're studying. They can work in the industry, and a typical timetable would be potentially 3 days at school doing their compulsory subjects, and 2 days either in work or in another RTO, or within the RTO they would spend 2 days, depending on what course that they wanted to do. So it means that once students are finished their high school, they have the opportunity then to fulfill or to finish their apprenticeship when they leave. So again, it's just getting a head start on your career. So qualifications that we offer in-house are, we have qualifications in business, conservation and land management, we have creative industries, we have screen and media, and we have information and digital media technology. So those are the courses that we have on offer here. We do also have skill set type qualifications and electives, which some students do. And all of these courses are on our website. This is a typical pathway for students that are doing a vet qualification. So the top two This is conservation and land management. So the top two, or the bottom two, I should say, boxes is what we offer here in McKillop. So we offer the Certificate 1 and we offer the Certificate 2 of Conservation Land Management. So you can see how these courses progress, and at the very top a student can get an advanced diploma in conservation and land management. Now that is equivalent to an associate degree. So if you follow the VET pathway, you would have to do maybe another year or 2 years max to get your degree in conservation land management. Okay, so there is pathways in every single sector that you are interested in. Okay? That's just an example of one pathway. So, advantages. You can be earning money, you're getting the skills, you're going to be getting credit points for your year 12, fabulous job opportunities, and you're going to get nationally recognized qualifications, which is really awesome. So this is a fabulous tool that I just found out yesterday.
It's brand new.
Oh, is it?
It is
Joseph
brand
just sent it to me and I got very excited about it. It's where you can put in the qualification that your son or daughter would potentially want to undertake, and it tells you exactly how many points that it will give your students or your kids. So that was quite clever. I would urge you, if you're wanting to go down the VET route, to have a look, and just every single qualification is there, and it tells you the points. Very impressed with that. So as Joseph has mentioned, again, within my remit is the Flexible Learning Centre. And in that space is for students who are doing VET courses who still need to get their compulsory subjects. So the compulsory subjects are English, Maths and Religion. So they are either taught in the flexible learning space or they go to their normal teacher depending on the amount of time they're out of class. Within that space they will be taught study skills, and they also get lots and lots of support in their study because they're part of our team VET. So they will also receive careers advice, and within there we've got a section of all of the literature from universities, VET courses that are available. We have job offers that would potentially get sent in to us. All that information is down in the flexible learning space as well. And there's lots of different pathways for students, not only VET pathways, but pathways of doing, as Joseph said again, the Duke of Edinburgh opportunities. All that is found in the flexible learning space. This is a Facebook page, again, that we keep up to date with any career or any opportunities that are in Darwin, any workshops that we find out about. So I would urge you all to like that page because there is some good stuff that is posted on it. Okay, just for careers and courses. So I will remind you if to get your expressions of interest in for semester 2. All those sorts of important information will be posted on this page. So does anyone have any questions or comments? Now, I'm not going to be running away, so I will be here to the end if you want to wait to the end. I can take questions there if you wanted to ask one-to-one, or ask open floor. Anything burning? A lot of information. Vocational education is fantastic.
Okay, so we now Mrs Wallace, who is our Wellbeing Officer and also the college chaplain. And several other things, yes, absolutely.
So I am Stella Wallace, I'm the welfare coordinator. I've put my email address up there and my phone numbers if you wish to contact me for anything, and also the chaplain. Under that banner is the Wellbeing and Family Liaison Officer and the Safeguarding Coordinator. And I, of course, help with the special visions as well. So all of our students are actually on an individual journey. So I showed this page here to our Year 12 students on their introduction day. And I just asked them to have a look and say, which one are they? Where are they in their learning? That tree was their education, where are they? Because we've got to remember that all of our students are in different levels of their journey. And so they manage their stress differently. Some, their emotional intelligence are different and their resilience are different. So it's actually okay to be any part of that, we will put the supports around you. I also did a small grounding exercise which I wanted to bring to you guys so that you can do this at home with your students if they get stressed. It's only something you can take a few seconds to you can take for as long as you like. So basically, I ask that you hold your hands like this. And this is the grounding exercise, and I want you to close your eyes and just have a think how your hands feel. How do your fingers feel against your hands? Can you feel your pulse? Remind yourself, I've got this. This will be really important, especially towards the later part of the year when the stresses really start to build up. Don't burn the candle at both ends. This also becomes further on. Beginning of the year we think, yeah, we've got this. I can work 40 hours and I can do this and I can do that. I can party on the weekend. What will happen is you start to burn out. And that's when our stresses become really hard.
Could I just mention there, people who have got part-time work, recommendation is no more than 10 hours in a week, no more than 10 hours.
And this is not because we don't want you to earn money, it's because we want you to be able to function really well at the end. We don't want you falling over and not being able to do your exams because you just keep burning and burning. We can only do so much, you are only human. So how can we support? So we need to develop good habits. We need to resist perfection. Make a really well thought out routine. Flip negative thinking. It's too easy to sit there and go, I can't do this, it's too hard, my teacher doesn't like me, I'll never get this in on time. Turn it around, what can you do? And don't try to control the uncontrollable. There are things in life that are just out of our control. Don't worry about the small things. We can also refer to our Catholic care counsellors. We have 2 Catholic care counsellors at the college. We have a lady and a male. They're both really, really good. They come Monday through to Thursday, and you can do referrals yourself. Your students can refer, I can refer, or one of your teachers can refer. If you're not sure where to put the referrals, you can send them through to the front office and I'll just hand them through. Or you can email them directly to me and I'll post them through as well. That also means that we can offer family counselling. If if the wheels are starting to fall off and you actually just need some help in unpacking what's going on, I can refer to family counselling for you, and it's also free through Catholic Care. But what can we do as a family? Well, often towards the middle part of the year, things start to get really tough. Our kids start to really stress out. So what can we do? My suggestion is listen. Often we, as parents, want to tell our children what we can and can't do, or what the best thing is to do. But from experience, the thing that keeps coming back is they don't want that. They just want you to listen.
So sometimes listening is one of the best things. Take some time out. If things are getting really rocky and things are getting really stressful, go and have a coffee, take time out. It's not the end of the world if you take an extra hour to spend time with your young person. Refer to counselling, refer to wellbeing, refer to the home form teacher, refer to the coordinator. These people are all here to support. Don't hold on to these problems. Reach out and actually ask someone to give you a hand. These are just 4 simple ways. There is lots of different ways of dispelling stress, but these are 4. Take a break. Take some time out. Things get too much, put the books down, go out, go for a coffee, go for a walk. Talk it over with someone. If you are not the person to talk to your student or your child about stresses, find somebody that they can talk to, and you find someone to talk to as well. Because you are the #1 support for your children. And if you don't have it, then they start to rock as well. Friendships are really important, especially in Year 12 and even the other seniors. But friendships are really important because they can actually do a lot of laughing, just dispelling all the stresses just by having some good friendships. And laughter, make humour. Actually laugh. There's actually studies in the USA where they've actually got places where you just go to laugh because that laughter actually reduces stress. This is also another one that I spoke to our Year 12s about, is actually recognising when you're stressed yourself. Know some of the physical symptoms of stress. Heart rate, being tight in the muscles, having neck soreness, feeling unwell, having headaches. How do we show our stress? Often in teens, the first thing is anger. Stress is shown by anger, where we get angry and we lose it and we have fights and all sorts of stuff is happening. Some withdraw, some just close up into the shell, go into the bedroom, shut the door and you can't talk to them. Some just don't know what to do, so they do nothing. These are all forms of stress. And so it's really important to know what those stresses are so that we can actually put things in place to support. So how do we act when we're stressed? So some adults, and young people of course, adults recognise their stress differently. But there are 3 different ones. So there's an overexcited stress response. This is often when we become really angry or agitated. We can't sit still, we're keyed up, we're really stressed, we've got to pace and do something. Then you've got the underexcited stress response. This is where you become really withdrawn and depressed and low. And then you've got those freeze response that we spoke about before. And they don't know what to do. They don't know whether they're happy or sad or in between. All of these responses, we need to find a kickstart of how do we fix it? How do we change that pattern? So we need something to reboot our system. So here are just some really quick strategies that we can reboot those systems. Take 5 deep breaths. Just stop and take 5 deep breaths. Slow down. Find something positive. It's too easy to go straight to the negative and say, you haven't done this or you haven't done that. Find a positive. Walk away, come back in 5 or 10 minutes. Let things, situation cool down a bit. Take a break. Go and have a coffee. Go and have a, walk outside in the sunshine. Whatever works for you. Count backwards. If you're really, really stressed and you're hyped up, count backwards. It's really hard to do when you're really stressed, but it will actually slow that heart rate down. Go for a really long walk and practice that deep breathing. find someone to process those thoughts with you. Sometimes we get stuck in our own head, and by the time we say it out loud, we actually have already solved it because it's already out of our head. And the biggest one, I think, is make a plan. It's like going shopping without a shopping list, and you get home and you've discovered you've forgotten to make the main reason why you went to the shops. Education and stress and all that is the same. If you have a plan, it works. I know Joseph covered this before, special provisions. You can speak to any of your teachers about special provisions. You can contact me, contact Joseph. One of the biggest things about special provisions is that we need to have some sort of evidence. So whether that's from your teachers that are saying, look, I can see this is happening. If it's an illness, something from the doctor, just some sort of evidence so that we can put on file to say this is why we need special provisions. And this is my last very quick grounding activity. When things are really, really tough and we can't think, oh, I'm not going to get out of this. Just place your right hand over your heart and think. Feel your heart, feel it beating. Feel the breaths that you take. And remember, I'm alive. I've got this. I can do this. I can get through it.
Thank you, Stella. Yes, so we have Zoe Sibia, who's going to be talking about two of the compulsories, which is the Personal Learning Plan, PLP, and also English.
So, as I was just introduced, my name is Zoe Sibia. I am the transition coordinator, which means that I work with kids as they come through from year 9 through to year 12, trying to figure out their pathways and how to fill up that pull pattern that was up on the screen before. And I'm also the PLP coordinator. So that journey, that little pattern starts to get filled in year 10, where we do the Personal Learning Plan, which is the PLP. So who's in year 10 at the moment or has a student in year 10? Yeah, a few people. Oh, most people. That's really exciting. Okay, so how that works is your child is either in PLP or religion this semester, and then it switches next semester. The PLP is a really good chance where the kids actually get to figure out where they want to go. So that pathway, they decide where they want to go, what they want to do, and they start to figure out how to fill up that pattern. That's the whole point of PLP. So PLP is our first compulsory subject. You must achieve a C in that subject to be able to continue to move forward. But it's really good for setting the kids up for where they want to go, and work experience is included as part of that subject. If you have any questions about that, please contact me. Some of you would have already received emails from me about work experience and that kind of stuff. So please feel free just to send me an email. The second compulsory subject is English. So I'm going to talk about that on behalf of Miss Emma Chater, who is the English coordinator. So there are 3 levels of English when we start at year 10. There is English literacy, there is general English, and then there is advanced English. So that's where it starts at year 10, 3 different levels. Then it kind of keeps going into year 11, and that's where it's compulsory. You must pass English for 2 semesters. So you have to get a C in semester 1 and semester 2 at least. So that is the same kind of thing. It starts with essential English, and then it goes to general English, and then we do English pre-literary studies. Then as we move into year 12, there's still the 3 strands of essential English, general English, and English literary studies. So if you have any questions about English, the first place that you need to go is to your English teacher, and then after that, you can talk to Mrs. Chater, the English coordinator. I'm going to stick around tonight, so if you have any questions about PLP or your child moving from year 9 through year 12, please come and see me. Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Roxy Clare is going to be speaking to us now. For those of you who don't know, she's a teacher who left us but couldn't stay away and came back to us, and she's now Year 10 coordinator as well. As we briefly mentioned, ways in which you can make up your points could include vet, traineeships and so on. It could include other types of community learning, and she's going to be talking about one of those other options, which is the Duke of Edinburgh Award. But there are other things which you can do that contribute towards your points.
And we also have here actually someone from Duke of Ed and T, which is Leanne Hopkins. Some people might remember her as a previous teacher here as well. So it's both of us talking on Duke of Ed, and I'll let you give us the first view.
Okay, alright, so like Roxy said, my name's Leanne Hopkins, so I work directly with the Dukes NT. Roxy, however, would be your direct contact if your young person was doing Dukes here at MacKillop. So she's what we call an award leader.
But not great at technology.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're okay.
So the Duke of Ed is an internationally recognised program, so it runs in over 130 countries. There's 1.3 million people between the age of 14 and 24 currently doing the program. So it's really well known across the globe, really. So if you're interested in things like exchanges overseas, or if you're interested in maybe potentially going overseas when you're a little bit older and you're looking for work, then Dukes looks great on your resume because everybody kind of either knows a little bit about it or knows the program directly. The perfect thing about Dukes is that it's an individual challenge. So it's about looking at what your young person or you as a student is already doing, and then we're going to use that to tap into Dukes for them to be accredited for that, for whether it's bronze, silver, gold. We'll talk a little bit about levels in a moment. So there are 10 guiding principles. So it's individual, like we said. It's non-competitive. It's about students creating their own goals and going along their journey and doing that at their own pace. So they can start at 14 and they have all the way until they're 24 to complete the program. Obviously, there is minimum time requirements, which we will go through. It's about young people setting individual goals that are achievable, so that are realistic. And also it's about a balanced and progressive award. So it's about you hopefully moving through the levels, so through bronze, silver and gold, and it's about a holistic approach to education outside of the traditional classroom setting.
Yeah, just on that, so it is something that is set up dependent on what the person wants to do. And obviously, as a school, we support them to line it up with the Dukes. But it is not like a set class time or anything like that. It's probably something that they're already doing. For example, whether they're into the outdoor activities, whether they're doing the skill and already playing an instrument. It's just actually showing evidence and lining it up with the Dukes standards. So we'll look at the different levels.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, there are 3 levels, bronze, silver and gold. This is the operational principles at its basic form. So if we're looking at bronze, for instance, they do need to be 14. However, I think this is a year 10 and upward information session. So all of them will be 15 already. It takes 6 months to complete bronze, and then if a participant has completed bronze, then it takes another 6 months to complete silver. And then if you did want to go on to gold, which is really, really well recognised, it is a 12-month commitment. So essentially, if you've got a student or a child that is thinking about doing Dukes, then they could start off in year 9. I know that's probably a bit young for these guys here, but maybe even starting off in year 10, going through and doing, getting bronze in year 10, and then silver, hopefully, maybe by the start of year 11, if you took that whole 12 months into consideration, that's not in school term as well. And then obviously going through in year 11 through to year 12 to get gold. And I guess the main thing about Dukes, and I know you've heard a lot about it today, is that we're really lucky in the NT and participants can get NT-CET credits for each of those levels. So that little image that you're seeing with all of those different subjects or credit points, you can get that for Dukes as well to work towards your NT-CET, and I'll go through that in just a little moment. Participants do need to do a camp as well, so there are 3 There are 3 sections to the award, so the skills service, which is volunteering, and physical rec. I'll go through them in a minute, but there's also a camp component as well, which MacKillop in the past has been really lucky, and they've received a grant to go and do the Kokoda Trail. So yeah, that's a bit of an incentive towards doing the program, is you get to go on these really magnificent camps and be a part of the team.
When there's no corona, I'd be happy and keen to help out setting up one of those again. I've done Africa here in the past, which was quite a few years back. It certainly was involved behind the scenes in some of the Kokoda stuff kicking off too. Obviously, the corona's kind of put that at a hold, but in the meantime, there's certainly plenty of things we can actually do in the Northern Territory that unfortunately aren't happening pretty much anywhere else in Australia at this point. So we're actually quite lucky on that front. Next slide.
And just with those camps, so the same grant that MacKillop won, they won that twice actually. So they were supposed to do Kokoda last year, and now they've opened that up to a different trail called the Hitchinbrook Trail. So they are putting in alternative options within Australia for young people to get really amazing experiences as well. As we talked about, so there's physical, recreation, skill and volunteer. That's at its heart. They're the 3 sections that you need to commit that 6 months to that I mentioned before. So for bronze, let's just focus on bronze for now because it's a little bit easier. And most people, if they're just starting the Dukes, would be starting at that bronze level. So they would have to do 6 months of physical recreation, 1 hour per week, 6 months of skill, 1 hour per week, and then 6 months of volunteer service, 1 hour per week. I'll just go back, sorry. No, that's all right. So I am moving a little bit quick. So and most of our young people are already doing 1 hour a week of physical recreation. In the Territory, it's really unusual for students not to be partaking in some kind of physical activity every week. So, and that could be something as simple as walking to school. You know, again, focusing on the fact that it's about challenging that particular person. So you might have some students that are out doing, you know, hours a week of AFL, but then you might have somebody that actually they've hurt their leg and rehab is their physical recreation. So that's why it's such an individualised approach, because you can manipulate each of the sections to fit with what you're doing. Same with skill, same with volunteering, and then obviously the only additional one is your AJ, which is your Adventurous Journey. Do you want to add anything?
So some quick examples that I know a fair few Year 10s are doing. Physical skill could be the Saints, whether that's rugby or Saints basketball. The skill also, the skill by itself, could be musical instruments. So we obviously have a very large music department here, or it could even be something associated with our languages department. So those things are within the skill. The voluntary service, that also links to the Catholic Church. It links to the cafeteria in terms of serving, if the students were involved in that or wanted to be. It also links in community service for our seniors that are expected to do that in order to get their reference at the end of Year 12. So there's a lot of things that people are already doing. It could also be things like charities, particularly with the volunteering. Or it could be helping out. It can't be a paid position, but it could be helping out with families or friends on the weekend or things like that, whether it's running a business or something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just to touch on that, you can absolutely be friends, but it cannot be family. Sorry. Roxy just came to the track. No, so seriously, the reason with the family is because obviously it can be, it's a little bit too close to home, and so we just
3 parts removed.
Yes. So definitely do heaps of volunteering, get involved. I mean, MacKillop offers so many great volunteering experiences on the ground anyway. But if you're looking for a volunteering experience and you can't seem to find one, we get them all the time to our office. So things like Writing for the Disabled are always looking for volunteers. All of the fundraising for the Variety Camp, they're always looking for volunteers. So if you can't find something, then just touch base with Roxy and she'll I'll send those through to you. Alrighty, so with the Adventurous Journey there are 2 options. There is what we call an expedition and an exploration. So they are the choices. Now the expedition is your typical camping, hiking, bushwalking. Your exploration can be just exploring something that's unfamiliar. So it could be exploring a culture, a new environment. It could be, we've had students in the past that have gone off and done explorations with science camps or dance camps, drama camps, things like that. So it doesn't, if you've got a young, a child, not a young child, but a child who is really interested in doing the Dukes but hates camping, then there are other options available as well. Okay, I might just let you have a little look at that one. We can, if you're interested, we can obviously go into a little bit more detail around this. This is just the different level of expectations for each of the levels of the awards. So, yeah. All right, great. So hopefully, now we've gone through the activities, you can start relating to the fact that you're already doing some of these activities, if not all of them anyway. You might already be doing music for skill. You might already be volunteering at your local church. You might already be doing, 50 hours a week of physical recreation. So the idea is that you start to link those things that you're already doing with how you can get recognition through the Duke of Edinburgh's Award. Okay, most important for the night. So Bronze Award, you get 10 NTCT credits, geez. For silver it's another 10 and for gold it's 20. So like we discussed before, most Year 11 subjects are 10 credits. So doing the Bronze Award, it's essentially a Year 11 subject of your SACE credits already. So it's a really, really great addition to those.
The other incentive is the fact that it is individually driven. So if a student here doesn't like some of their subjects, this is one you get to own, that you get to drive yourself and steer it exactly where you want it. And even the fact of the time, it's up to you when you want to work on showing the evidence. Obviously you'll have my support. There's also Mr. Skinner in the school who has a Duke of Ed background as well. So we are here to support, but essentially it's done by the student as they like when they want. So that's something that can be done, holidays if they failed all these other subjects, then they can pick up some points here. If they keep whinging and they don't like this and that and everything else, well, they can pick up some points here.
Yeah. We have a lot of schools in the territory that will look at students in TCT at the beginning of the year, so maybe at the beginning of year 12, and maybe they might be missing 10 credits, so they're still looking for 10 extra credits, so they start then looking at doing the Duke of Ed as a buffer just in case, they get to the end of the year and they need that 10 extra credits. So it can be used in that way as well. Obviously we want it to be a forward-thinking program, but yeah, there's definitely options.
The other thing linked to obviously points towards an Australian accreditation here is it's an international award. So if they go and speak of the Dukes in another country down the track, or how far that might be, or even just the fact that it's on the resume, everybody will probably have heard of Dukes at some stage or could easily look it up as to what it involves. It's an international standard recognition, so that's something that can be carried no matter where the job is. People will probably recognise it.
Great, okay, so now how much? So it's $100 for bronze, $125 for silver and $150 for gold. The students can use their sports voucher to do the program. That's just the registration cost. You only ever pay the rego cost once, so once you've registered it for bronze, even if it takes you 4 years to complete it, obviously you just pay that registration fee the once. If you are struggling at all and maybe think, oh actually that's a bit too much to be paying for something else because I'm already paying $1,000 for camps and $100 for this and $100 for that, and you've got 4 kids, so we totally understand that there is a disadvantaged grant available. So that just comes through us, and you can apply for that, and that will cover the registration costs and any other costs associated. If that's the case, then just have a chat with Roxy. I'll just handle everything to you, and and we can go through that process. But please do not do Dukes because it's a financial issue.
And I think, is that the last year?
Yep, so that was just at our award ceremony. Actually, it wasn't last year because COVID ruined it, but that was the year before. So the year before that was just one of our award ceremonies at Parliament House. So we do those annually, so anyone that finishes their award before the cut-off date for the ceremony will be invited to an award ceremony at the end of the year. Obviously, if you miss that cut-off, then those young people will be invited to the next scheduled one. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Did you have any
Again, if you want any information at the end, feel free to hang around. There's also, if you don't like to talk to people, that's fine. There's some brochures you're welcome to grab on your exit in the tea and coffee. Thank you.
Just to carry on with that, the Duke of Edinburgh himself, who's 99, I believe is still in hospital and has been for about 3 or 4 days.
Positive.
Well, I think he's
So
doing well.
He's living,
Doing well.
and he's at a ripe age because of Dukes.
Absolutely.
That's right.
We have had students in past years who have actually completed their NCCET with those extra points from the Duke of Edinburgh. And you can also gain some extra points if you're doing things like coaching or refereeing and so on like that. Mr. Chisholm is going to speak to us. You should already know that all assessments with the NCCET are essentially going to be electronic, and it's all uploaded onto that SACE website that you saw a bit of it, and you need to know what to do when you're doing those sorts of assessments, and Mr. Chisholm will cover a bit of that information.
Yeah, look, bit of a change of pace, hopefully. Not a change of pace in terms of how quickly people are talking to you and how much information they're throwing, but I'm going to go from a little bit of a different angle. I'm not so much telling you things that you need to make sure your kids know and your kids think about. I'm going to give, hopefully, a few things for parents to think about in terms of ways that you can support the students living in your house to get the best that they can out of the things that, that they're doing at school. So, in that regard, that would be right, wouldn't it? Oh, there we go. Oh, okay. This is a bit of a breakdown from stuff that I do with the kids across different year levels and at different levels. Tonight, this is the super fast parents version, so that hopefully at some stage, during the middle of the year moment of absolute panic that Stella was talking about earlier, as well as holding their hand and telling them to breathe, you'll also remember a little bit of what came on in this session, and you'll go, wait, wasn't there an app for that? So, study skills when you're doing things. Read widely, watch the news. Don't be constrained by your subject, don't be constrained by your question. Put the most time into things that are worth the most marks. Do the stuff you love first because you can get it finished fast, or do the stuff you hate first so that you'll get it out of the way. There is no right way of doing things, but don't be constrained by the subject. So many of these kids get their brain in silos. There's information that they've learned in English to do with their English assignments, and they're not applying it in history, to their history assignments. Because that's history, and history is this stuff, and English is this stuff, and maths this stuff. Whereas you as parents out in the real world hopefully can say to them, no, that chart you're doing in geography is maths. Use your maths brain for that. Don't just stick with what your subject is called. You need to ask your kids, what is the question really asking? And this is what the question is really asking. All of the assessments that we give have a rubric. And we try and hammer into these kids, read the rubric, read the rubric, read the rubric. And they all go, yeah, and then read the question. Answer the question. You can answer the question in a way that is a technically correct answer, but the rubric is the things that we're trying to find evidence of. We've given you a question for a particular purpose. It's to find evidence, this one being ancient studies, of in-depth knowledge and critical understanding of selected ideas, individuals, groups, institutions, social systems, events, and artifacts in the ancient world. Your answer might be technically correct, but if it doesn't prove that, we can't give you an A. These are always with the assessment task. They're always there in the back. Even the middle years, your year 7 and 8, We have smaller versions of these, the things that we're looking for, the things that this question is the spark. The question is, okay, here's a starting point for you to prove particular things, particular skills, particular knowledge. So knowing that these exist makes it easier for you guys when someone gets stuck to go, wait, you're stuck on the question, what's the rubric? What are you trying to prove? How are you going to prove this? Where's the evidence going to be? Find your information first. The more you know, it's easier to work out what you'll say. So start searching. So many parents I've heard, I don't use Wikipedia. Stay away from that Wikipedia. Terrible, that Wikipedia. Absolutely brilliant thing, Wikipedia. Has a lower error rate than Encyclopedia Britannica. Just has a different type of error. Encyclopedia Britannica, written by experts, takes years to change an entry after a fact has changed, after a new discovery, because it has to be gone through by experts in the field, all with their analysis of it. So Wikipedia can change things quickly. But yeah, sometimes somebody will get in there and change something, make it stupid. Yeah. But if you're stuck, you don't know what you're talking about, you can't find anything, go to the Wikipedia page, find the big complex word, find the subject-specific words, and use those for your search. Then suddenly you find better stuff. Who are the experts in your area? So don't just go to Google. If you're studying ancient Egypt, go to the museum in Melbourne, the museum in Sydney, whichever museum in Australia's last had an Egyptology exhibit come passing through, and look at the information in there. Go to the Cairo Museum, and okay, it's written in Arabic, that's okay. Go there in Chrome and it'll pop up. Do you want to read this in English instead? And it'll automatically translate it for you. So go to where the people who are the experts live. So CSIRO, Bureau of Meteorology, Bureau of Statistics. Yeah, where are you going to find the subject-specific words that are going to make your subject search, your query, more relevant and give you the better results? Google search doesn't always cut it, but if you hit tools, you've got this little any country thing down the bottom there, you can make that say Australia. Quite a lot of stuff that kids do talks about Australia. A lot of the subjects are asking for Australian-specific examples. Telling Google you only want Australian answers saves that thing. You know, I've marked plenty of assignments where it was give an Australian example and you've got American examples and British examples because that's what Google told them. So the other one, settings, advanced search. Find all these words, any of these words, none of these words. Now the example I use, given that we've got the Saints rugby team, you can search for rugby and then in the none of these words put league. And that way you're searching for rugby union, not rugby league. Now, classic example of this in assignments is often gold. So many assignments the kids do in the middle years on gold. But is it the gold rush? Is it the element of gold? Is it the history of gold? Is it the history of mining? The word gold will get you all sorts of stuff. And sometimes it'll give you pages and pages of the wrong stuff. Sometimes putting a not in there, none of these words. Gold, not mining. So you put the word mining in none of these words. I'm after the element, I'm after it from a scientific point of view. Google doesn't search everything. If you join Darwin Library, Palmerston Library, you get a library card, you can also get access to their online databases. Their online databases are often at a higher level than our students need. EBSCO databases, latest scientific research, but if you're doing a stage 2 subject and you can pull one of those recent scientific journals for your science paper, a recent historical paper for your history work, one big complex one, the psychological difference that makes to the markers down south when this pile of stuff from the Northern Territory is on their desk, suddenly they see, okay, here's a research paper from this year. They're not just relying on dusty old textbooks. You might have understood almost nothing in that paper, but the fact that you found it will actually make a difference psychologically in the markers. It's those little things that can be the difference of your mark being a B or an A. Yeah, and they're not, it's not any more work to do it these ways. The National Library in Canberra, same deal. Actually, sometimes even easier because you can join them online, and so just put your details in. They'll post you your library card and your login, and you can access some of their stuff. Now, these online databases, you can't get to them via Google. They're behind paywalls. They cost each individual one, something like $5,000 a year to subscribe to. But if you join any of the Northern Territory libraries, you get a certain number of them free. Join the National Library, you'll get some other ones free, along with a lot of other resources. Having those things, getting them in year 10, even if you're not going to use them until year 12, knowing that they're there. And then when you hit that panic moment in year 12, where you've got to have this thing finished by tomorrow, and I can't find anything, pull it out of your back pocket, that card that the National Library mailed you 2 years ago, suddenly, here it is, I've got something, I can get it finished, and it'll look good. Let's see. Okay, finding something isn't the end of your work. You need to evaluate, is it right, is it honest, is it all the information? Now, at this point for the students, I go to one of these two places. DHMO is the web page of dihydrogen monoxide, a liquid that's used in the cooling of nuclear reactors. As little as a teaspoon of dihydrogen monoxide can kill an infant. So the page was put together by some sociologists or sociology students wanting to prove that when you put something scientific in, people turn off their brain. And they've got several local councils in America to pass a legislation banning dihydrogen monoxide. Dihydrogen, two hydrogens, monoxide, H2O, water. Water is the main coolant in nuclear reactors. As little as a teaspoon can kill a baby because that's how much they breathe into their lungs for drowning. You put it though in those other terms, scares the hell out of people, and people just go, I don't understand any of this, it must be awful. So when you're looking for online resources, always remember to use your critical thinking. The Pacific Northwest Tree Octopus is just a website full of pictures of octopus someone bought from the seafood shop, put through pine trees in the Pacific Northwest of America, and then started a page for the preservation of this endangered species. When I was working in universities, I actually had a PhD student who had the Pacific Northwest Tree Octopus in their reference list for their PhD thesis. Somehow I managed to grab them and let them know before they were mocked and thrown out of the university for being morons. But these things can look good sometimes. These things can seem entirely true and plausible, but it is always worth looking at more than one place to get more than one point of view. Tackle in your assignments, don't let your idealism prevent you working. Now, this is my advice, not necessarily everybody's. Turn off spell check, turn off grammar check, forget about your sentence structure, have ideas. You've probably noticed by the speed I'm talking and leaping all over the place, I have ADHD. I'm as bad as half of the kids that we got in year 8, and yet somehow I've managed to graduate uni 3 times. Being an awful speller, the red wiggly line is a distraction. I've got an idea for my assignment. There's a red wiggly line, I've spelled that wrong. Is it this way? Is it this way? Oh wait, now I've got it. Now what was I saying? No idea. We're getting to a point where computers can fix almost everything. They can fix your sentence structure, your spelling, your grammar. It won't be long before they're doing 90% of the work for you, but the thing they can't do is have your idea. So when you've got kids that are stuck, get them back to basics. Pen and paper, no wriggly lines, or just turn all that stuff off. But of course then, don't forget to turn it all back on again before you email your draft to your teacher. Now, another one I think is a good idea, write your introduction last. I read it first, but if you're going to introduce me to somebody else, you need to meet me first. If you're going to introduce your assignment to me, you need to know your assignment first. And if you haven't written it yet, how do you know what it's going to say? Get a lot of assignments where the introduction says what the assignment's going to be, and then the assignment is something entirely different. Now, trying to get through this. Zotero, now referencing kills a lot of people. Telling me, as the person marking, where does the information come from? got pamphlets up the back. Zotero is an automated system. You install it onto your computer, and it puts this little thing, your Zotero tab, into your Word, add citation, add edit bibliography. When you're on the internet, you press, I've circled up the top there, that little Zotero button, it saves to My Library, and as you go through, you're doing your research, each page, oh, this is going to be good for that assignment, click the button, click the button, click the button. Now, you can save it to My Library, or within your library you can have your SOS folder, your history folder, your maths folder, your biology folder, saving things in there. It means that as you go through each assignment, you're building this library of things that you've used before, and when it comes to the major one, they're all there again, they're ready to go. You know where they are, you know all the details. But what it does, it creates a list, and in that list, it has all of the details. So when you add a citation, you just start typing the first couple of letters of the name, and it goes, did you mean this one? Yes, bang, it's in. Finish it all, hit add bibliography, puts all of them in with the correct, everything you've referenced in correct formatting at the end, and using whichever format you've been asked to use. And if you use the wrong one, you just go in, you click the button, go, didn't mean that one, meant this one. It changes your entire document to the one you meant. So you can do APA, Harvard, Cambridge, hundreds of ones that I didn't even know existed. And works incredibly well. It's worth using in year 10, year 11, even though in year 10 and year 11 it's not going to be as heavy-handed, because if you've got it down in those times, by the time you hit year 12, it's smooth and it's easy. Just the potential to lose marks for not doing this properly with anything that's sent away down south for moderation is fairly high. And so if you've got it automated, it's automatically being done the correct way for you, then you're saving yourself an awful lot of work and saving yourself from mistakes. Now, note taking, note making, I'll give the kids all sorts of stuff on those, but you don't need all that at the moment. Yes. Exam preparation. One thing that happens across the schools in the Northern Territory is that we don't do a lot of exams. And therefore, when kids come to the one serious exam that they have at the end of year 12, they're not used to the idea. So, study like it's an exam. You won't have music in your exam, so study without music. You won't be lying down in your exam, so sit up. Get something like a water bottle, and every time you pick it up, take the lid off to have a drink, you do those mindfulness exercises that Stella was talking about. You take those couple of breaths, and if you do that when you're studying, it becomes automatic. So you take the same water bottle into the exam, you pick it up for a drink, and it automatically relaxes you, because that's how you've been doing it for the last 12 months or 2 years. If you study that way, when you hit the exams, suddenly your brain doesn't see it as big and frightening. I'm just sitting upright at a chair at a desk in a quiet room with the water bottle, just like normal, open the lid, deep breath, and you relax. And you can program your brain to do these things. Now, this one, there's the deep breaths. There's, being a Catholic school, Isaiah, with your in and your out, you have the words. You say the words from Isaiah, or you say the words from Metallica, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you get a routine that calms you, so that when you get into that stressful situation, there's something familiar you can grab hold of. And once you take that, you take those deep breaths and you go, nothing else matters. And you're relaxed. That is my time. I'll be going through all sorts of these things over the next little while, and as will Mrs. Donnelly, our library technician. But if you want to ask me anything about any of the stuff I raced through tonight, I will be hanging around.
Having been a marker and so on, that type of referencing impresses the heck out of markers. To see that, wow, fantastic stuff. It's absolutely amazing. We have Mr. Nolan with us, who's the Year 12 coordinator. He has gone through Year 12s when there were 10s and 11s, so he's gone through that whole senior school. So he's got a whole lot of very useful information and quite a large number of anecdotes as well. When you finish whatever piece of work that you are doing for an assessment, please read it. Just read your work. Just read it. Does it make sense to you? Well, if it doesn't, you better change something about it. Okay, we ready?
I'm ready.
Go for it.
Hello. I did think I'd do an interpretive dance, but I thought the slideshow might be better. It's really a parent's guide to surviving Year 10, 11 and 12. I'm specifically working with the Year 12s this year. So here it is. Just don't panic. It'll be okay. So you're going to be the support team, basically. In the end, they've got to do it themselves, don't they? And become involved, check the deadlines, and talk to teachers if something's not right or you're unsure or whatever. Just communicate. Obviously, first line would be the subject teacher, home form teacher, year coordinator, but get the dialogue going. Every teacher in this school wants your son or daughter to do as well as possible. We're all on the same page here. And the more contact we have with parents, the more successful it is. Now, I did go through a few things because I talked to the Year 12 about if you're going to get to the end of Year 12, if you're going to get to the crucial part of the year in a healthy, happy state of mind where you can feel that you can perform at your best, you've got to look after your body and your mind. But if you're going to have your mind in the right condition, your body's got to have the right things going into it. And so I ran through with them. We've got to look at our diet. I would love a YouTube clip here about what people should be eating. It's just keep the diet regular, eat and fuel your brain and your body in a smart way. I'm not going to make you watch the clip. We do need to keep up our exercise, and if your son or daughter is involved in team sports, really keep it going, because team sports are incredibly powerful. Any sort of sport, any sort of activity or exercise. And this is the biggie. Our kids need sleep. Now, how much sleep? Probably 2 hours more than they're getting. It's really hard to say. But if you want to be performing optimally at school, your brain's got to be rested. We now know a lot more about sleep than we used to. It's not just, there tends to be this whole cleansing process that goes on in the brain that gets rid of all the toxins in the brain that you can't get rid of when you're active. And a whole set of things happen that keep you performing at your best. So sleep's important, and the most important thing about sleep is regular, repeated sleeping patterns. So go to bed at a specific time every night, kids, whatever that time happens to be. And get a pattern going. We also talk about this, and we've talked about it with wellness and just quiet time in the brain. Actually really powerful. Because we don't want them to get to that point, do we? And you listen to all these people talk about all the different things you can do. Stay calm. It'll be okay. Just keep the routines going. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Just related to that, it's come out now with research over the last few years that the last hour or two before you go to bed, before you go to sleep, don't stare at your laptop screen, don't stare at your iPad or whatever, because the blue light that comes from these screens is actually detrimental to your sleep pattern. Sorry, Mr. Miller.
I'm going to be about 1.5 minutes. I was asked to talk about RE. I'm going to tell you a story because I was looking at the blue screen at 10:30 last night reading the story of Barack Obama. And he's written a 500-page booklet. It's on my iPad, and I read it. And last night I read 7 chapters. I usually only read 1. I got to this particular story, and it sort of sums up my feelings about religious education at MacKillop Catholic College. Once, when my grandmother discovered I'd been part of a group that was teasing a kid at school, she sat me down in front of her, lips pursed with disappointment. "You know, Barry," she said, that's the nickname she and my grandparents used for me when I was growing up, "there are people in the world who think only about themselves. They don't care what happened to other people, as long as they get what they want. They put other people down to make themselves feel important. And then there are people who do the opposite, who are able to imagine how others must feel and make sure that they don't do things that hurt people." So she said, looking me squarely in the eye, "What kind of person do you want to be?" And I thought, even Barack Obama, bullying young children, bullying other kids at school, was taught a very valuable lesson by the grandparents and parents. What sort of person do you want to be? You want your kids to be the second Barack Obama, the one that does the opposite, that imagines how other people must feel and makes sure that they don't do the things that hurt people. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm conscious of the time, but we do have a number of heads of department here, so I'll just ask them to speak briefly. Mr. Joseph, he's our head of science.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm head of science. I would like to say that we have 5 different science courses that are being offered here. We have physics, chemistry, biology, psychology, and scientific studies. Of these, most of them are quite popular. We have physics. If your student, if your child is pursuing a career in engineering, definitely physics should be something that should be chosen. Chemistry, for medicine, for nursing, yes, definitely you should be choosing. And biology is again popular. We have as many as 30 to 40 students. Any questions with regard to science, please ask. Thank you.
Mr. Muslin is our head of social and other things.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Humanities at stage 1 and stage 2 level involves studies in history, geography, legal studies, and business studies. They're filled with a wide range of topics which students can independently choose, and they develop valuable research skills that they can take away into their tertiary studies or the remainder of their life in the community.
Mr. Dillett is just coming forward. He's our head of almost everything, isn't he? Big rat.
Hi, Paul Dimmick's my name. I'm head of the department of what we call INTAG, which is Industrial Technology and Design. So that covers areas in year 10, 11, 12. So timber and metal are the 2 workshop subjects in year 10. We offer textiles at year 10, and at year 11, we also offer digital communications technology, which is like it's an IT-based design course, and then we offer at year 11 and 12 design, technology and engineering courses in, once again, textiles. We break it down. We don't do timber and metal. We do a subject, and the students choose their own medium. And so if you're interested in any of those subjects, please come and see me. Just remember, you can do design and technology and have it count towards your ATAR and go to university. Thanks.
And Mrs. Buck, who wears many hats.
Hi, I'm Mari Buck. I'm heading up food and hospitality, and there's courses at year 10, 11 and 12 in that subject. but I also wear the hat of House Coordinator and coordinate student leadership in the school this year. So that means that the community service that students need to do in their senior years falls to me. So if students or parents have got any questions around their community service or volunteering like in the cafe, I'm the person to come and talk to. Thank you.
Mr. Shanahan, you still there? Come on, Phil. Mr. Shanahan is also somebody who's multi-talented and wears many hats, and he's in charge of a number of subjects which we are really trying to promote. So, to you, sir.
We can study. This year we've been offering digital technologies in the stage 1 and stage 2, which is quite academic. So if you want to study digital technologies, come and see me in year 9 or 10, not in stage 1, please. And it will get you. There are a lot of courses and a lot of jobs available these days with the pay starting at about 100,000 after you finish a 4-year course at uni. So it's a very lucrative thing to do, especially with the current climate in the world.
Mention on a personal note, so my son finished university. He did a pilot training course as a commercial pilot. He went to Europe with his girlfriend. He ended up in Spain working there for an IT company. They were doing all of the pilot training manuals for pilots, putting them on iPads. They were making bots and actual physical robots that would wander around airline terminals and sell you things, like, what's that thing? Oh, that's right, we used to fly around in planes once upon a time, didn't we? We could actually buy a plane ticket to fly to another country. So, last year, the company didn't go bust, but they had some really bad times. At the moment, he is still living in Spain, but he is being paid in the UK by a company based in Poland. And he doesn't need to even contact those people other than remotely. So that's what IT can do for you. And he's earning more than me. Ms. Lingland, would you like to?
Hi, I feel like the tangent went straight into what I need to talk about. Hi, Candice Lingland, languages. Thank you. 3 languages here offered at school: Chinese, Indonesian, Japanese. A lot of you are already studying a language with us, which is great, so you guys are eligible for the continuous stream. 90% of students are eligible for the beginner stream, so that can start in year 10 or year 11. So if you are interested in a language, come see me. They're fun.
Hi, my name's Catherine Ezzy. I'm the acting head of arts. So in arts we have all the regular stuff of dance, drama, music, as well as visual arts. So we have a lot of opportunities for students at our school here to be involved in the arts. We also have extracurricular opportunities that students can get involved in. So we have an after-school dance program, and the music program oftentimes runs after-school ensembles and all that sort of thing. So there's lots of chances even outside of normal classes for students to be creative, and potentially to also tie into the Duke of Ed, where they can get their hours up for that and volunteer. Yes, and our school is known for the arts department and being quite strong in that area. So if you have any questions, you can see me about that. Thank you.
Just ask Mr. Plummer to say a few words.
Just wanted to thank Joseph and our staff for staying behind. We took a really different approach to our information evenings tonight. The information that's given you was really on trying to get you re-engaged in your children's education, and from a number of different angles, I guess. So hopefully, even though it went a little bit longer than our usual information nights, it's been really good, top-notch information, and I'd like to thank Mr. Frykowski for I also want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming in tonight. does make our school a much better place when we have that contact with home. It certainly makes our jobs and our lives as teachers and as staff at the college a much easier thing to do when we actually have these sorts of contacts with our parents. So thank you for coming in.
And if you missed anything, Mr. Tyler there has been videoing the whole thing. Give him a...
So if you know anybody tonight who wasn't able to turn up, please ask them to visit the website and they can actually watch the whole night over again for themselves as well. So thank you. Our staff will be staying behind afterwards. There's tea and coffee at the back.